So Len Geron, I am so happy I ran into you at the Alexandria City Market Saturday mornings, and that I learned you were a muralist and had many examples of your work around town and how to build old town style. And then turns out we have mutual friends,
Yep.
and so we kept meeting at separate events, and then the conversation went, okay, well, I have a wall, and I need a muralist, and I have to come up with an idea for the mural. And then all of a sudden, I came up with an idea.
That's right. That's right.
And so that's how we started.
You know, it's interesting because it's really like exemplifies what the creative process really is. I mean, a lot of times when you start or you want to have something done, you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know what it's going to contain. You really start from a space of nothing and then start building, rather than have all these preconceived ideas that may or may not work out, you know, or which then become parameters in which you're limited. So we started this with no limitation. You and I sat down one afternoon at your place, and you had considered a lot of ideas about your past, and you just started showing me different pictures of your past and the past history of this area, Upper King Street, and the people who have been in your life for 20, 30 years, and some are still alive, some may not be alive, but this became something where you wanted to honor the people who made the Upper King Street area really significant. And
says it well.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so out of that space, I mean, and I as an artist, I love to paint people's memories. I love to get into people's heads and hearts, and you know, and paint something that's really meaningful for them, because art's very individual in terms of what you like, and when you can create something that represents people, you know, they may not only like it, but they may love it because it really represents them. It's almost like having a book done about you or a movie. And this is sort of a movie right now about you. And
Yeah.
and I'm the painter. You're the idea person. And together we created this wall. It's her wall. It's my paint and Home Depot brushes and Carol's creativity. She's a very creative person. And so
Thank you, Len.
it was like, be open to creativity in this. You know, what do you think? And then we just started tossing out ideas.
Yeah. So that is the genesis of it. Should we start in the back corner?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about
Okay, so let's
creation more.
Let's start over here.
And I will say that it did end up being my story. It started out to be the story of the Upper King Street businesses and how we all support each other over the years.
It's
But
community. This is a community mural and a life history mural.
Well, then I realized that there were a lot of influences on me that got me here. So then it became, well, Carol, I thought this was about Old Town Kismet, and I said yes, but it's my mural.
It is.
So,
That's exactly right.
so actually starting at the back, we have represented the. Are we seeing that in the?
It's on. Yeah.
Can you see it?
Are we seeing it?
I think so.
Or do you see? Yeah, I think so. If that's what.
All right. So
Okay.
everyone recognizes Fred Parker's Hard Times Cafe truck and force that has been parked outside since the beginning, probably 30 years, and has been in every parade in Alexandria over the years. And Fred has driven the truck until, sadly, he passed away this past year. And there was a lot of tribute to him, and he was an inspiration to me as far as I'm concerned, because the idea that, okay, one day I might have a business on King Street, like Fred Parker, I was like, wow.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So then what
Well,
happened?
from an artistic standpoint, we didn't. We turned the horse in, so he's actually looking into the mural, and so it's not exactly the logo. So it's not like stealing copyrights to a logo or an image, but it's our truck, and it looks like his logo, his horse, and so on. It's his truck, and it's our image. Okay, number 2.
Okay, then the summertime came, and I realized that the story was continuing, and so we had to add the Freedom and Justice for All logo to recognize what's going on this summer, and then that
Really honoring all lives matter, and justice for everyone and freedom for everyone is what the United States is based on. And
Okay.
that's part of that's the last statement in the Pledge of Allegiance. So that's where we live. That's the space we live.
And then I was reminded of a dear neighbor and friend who was a symbol of the feminist movement, the sex discrimination in the workplace. This was a neighbor who turned out to be a friend of many, many years. And her name is Ann Hopkins. And when I met her, she was beginning a lawsuit against Price Waterhouse on the basis of gender discrimination for not getting a partnership. I will say that she ultimately got her partnership, and she also became a Supreme Court landmark case as a result. And so she was an important part of what's going on with social protests, and a close friend. So then we have.
We'll do a little touch up on her jacket. Okay, for the video. So it's real good paint, and it'll dry within an hour. We hope, with no rain in sight.
We moved down here to, I wonder what, to my good friend Joe Edgerton, Edgerton Gardens and
Joe right here.
Arts of Fire Glass Gallery. When he closed the gallery, so a few years back, before that he was very well involved in our business organization on the board, and this is a picture taken by a Washington Post photographer of when we banded together. There were, I believe, 10 of us businesses, and we bought flower boxes, 12 of them, and put them on the 1100 block of King Street. And so the Post wrote a story of our cooperation, and that's Joe in front of Tiffany Tavern. It's also another name that a lot of people would recognize. And sadly, Joe passed away in 2018. So I'm sorry to bring the news, but and then here's a living legend, literally. This is Nina Tessara, who had Tessara Photography, and was also the founder, one of the founders of the King Street Metro Enterprise Team, which we called Kismet. It was the original business organization for the Upper King Street area, and she was the founder.
And the sign for Kismet and commemorating it is right above there in red and white.
And then
the eye doesn't really exist in the logo, correct?
But for the name of the mural, we put it in.
That's right.
Then I realized that my father was my mentor, and he was very much an important part of my story. And this is my father as a young pharmacist in Wayzata, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he drove the car and delivered prescriptions for it. That was his first job. And so, and that's the car he drove behind him.
And it's got white wall. It's the old white wall tire. car.
Then we're going to move to the corner where I've got myself and my dog Hobbs, who was called the mayor of Fayette Street. He lived to be 18 and he came to the shop almost daily. And I'm standing next to another dear friend. Her name is Peggy Amsterdam. And I met Peggy when she hired me for, I realized was my beginning arts-related career. And she hired me for the American Freedom Train Foundation in 1974. And that was a bicentennial event and a train that went all around the country with exhibits, and I helped gather exhibits. And then she called me one day and said, Carol, there's a bank that needs a marketing person for events. So that launched a 15-year career in bank marketing, but then that went south, the S&L crisis. And so that's when I looked around and decided I wanted to own a craft store. So that's Peggy and me on a trip to China in 1998.
And what's that behind you there, Carol?
That's the Great Wall of China.
The Great Wall of China. And it still needs to be extended a little.
It's getting work done.
It's still in progress.
And so the fascinating thing about my friendship with Peggy Amsterdam is that she and her husband left the area and moved to Wilmington, where she lived next door to Jill and Joe Biden. And they raised their children together. And she died several years ago. And most of the whole cultural elite in Philadelphia came to her. But the last time I saw her, she was in town helping the Bidens pick out artwork for the vice president's mansion.
And then,
story.
Yeah, and then the sign above is really like one of the main themes of the whole wall and of Carol's life, and that is love is all you need. And it's being pulled. There's a banner there that is being pulled by an airplane. The plane isn't totally done yet, but Hobbs, her dog, is going to be pulling the banner. And yeah.
And then we have the tribute to First Night, Alexandria, which was also supported by King Kismet and has grown substantially over the last 20 years. And then we have King Street Gardens Park, which is at the top of King Street, and was also a project that Kismet founded and got going and has stood behind all this time. And it was an artist commission also, and the entire park was actually a sculpture.
Mm-hmm. The whole sculpture garden. It's really neat. Yeah. And what it represents is amazing.
Okay.
And, it's really been a pleasure to.
Well, those are the highlights, but it's a painting is always a work in progress, so
exactly.
it might change.
Yeah.
But these are the highlights.
These are the highlights. This is the structure for this wall, and at this point, always something to be continued. It's a never-ending story.
All right.
How are we doing?